Night after night, as the world sinks into silence, our minds often journey to distant places, beyond the borders of reality. But what if, even when awake, this thing we call reality is merely a small window, opening onto a grander, endless panorama? Assume that our universe, with all its glittering stars, planets, and galaxies, is not the only one. It is just a small bubble, a distinct droplet, floating in an ocean called the multiverse. This is not an idea confined to science fiction. This fascinating concept stems from the most profound theories of modern physics and cosmology, most notably the theory of cosmic inflation. Picture this. In the first moments, right after the Big Bang, the universe underwent an expansion at breakneck speed, faster than anything we can imagine. The theory suggests that different regions of space expanded at different rates, creating an infinite number of space-time bubbles. Each of these bubbles, over time, grew into an independent universe, each with its own exclusive set of physical laws. They are like floating spheres, close to each other, yet unable to touch. Each bubble is a complete reality, with its own history and a distinct version of everything. Another theoretical support comes from the world of quantum mechanics, where tiny particles can exist in a state of superposition, simultaneously in multiple states at once. When we observe, the particle chooses a single state. One evocative interpretation suggests that each choice creates a new parallel universe. Every decision you make, every quantum event that occurs, branches off into another reality, where every other possibility has also been realized. To make this picture even more fantastical, we need to talk about string theory. String theory proposes an astonishing thing. The fundamental particles that make up everything in the universe are not points, but tiny, vibrating strings. The way these strings vibrate determines whether they are an electron, a photon, or any other particle. But for the mathematical formulas of string theory to work smoothly, it requires more spatial dimensions than the 3 space dimensions and 1 time dimension we perceive. Some versions suggest the existence of up to 11 dimensions. Imagine these extra dimensions are compressed, curled up in regions so tiny that we cannot perceive them. They are right beside us, but invisible. And this is where the door begins to open. Theoretically, under certain extreme conditions, such as inside a black hole or at extremely high energy levels, these additional dimensions could become accessible. Dimensional gates, as theoretically envisioned, would act as pathways, bridges connecting different regions within our universe, or even as gateways to entirely different universes within the multiverse. It's not just about traveling through space, but about exploring new dimensions of the very fabric of the universe. We wouldn't just be traveling, we would be redefining the concept of a journey. The possibilities the multiverse opens up are endless. But what if some of the strange phenomena humans report, events that mainstream science cannot explain, are evidence of the existence of these other dimensions? Could the UFO phenomenon be linked to these alternate dimensions or realities? Confirming a dimensional gate would not only pave the way for travel, it could also open the path to time travel. If these extra-dimensional intelligent beings exist, what would they look like? Could the different laws of physics in each universe create intelligent life forms that are completely unrecognizable to us? We will approach these thought-provoking questions with an open mind and a scientific perspective. Let curiosity be our guide as we step into the dream of the multiverse's boundless possibilities. If our universe, with all its structures and rules, is only one of countless realities, then each of those realities could possess a completely different set of physical laws, a unique operating principle. This leads to the stimulating question: what would other universes look like? Would they have the same fundamental structure, the same elements like water, clouds, or even the planets we know? According to multiverse theories, from string theory to bubble universes, each universe would differ in the number of spatial dimensions, the types of fundamental particles, and the core forces that govern them. This opens up an infinite tableau of possible realities. In our universe, everything is determined by the laws of physics and the fundamental constants, such as the speed of light, gravity, and electric charge. They dictate everything, from the structure of atoms to the formation of massive galaxies. Let's imagine an alternative universe, which we'll temporarily call Universum Proximum, the proximal universe. In Proximum, suppose the gravitational force is significantly weaker than in our universe, or the electric charge of fundamental particles is different. In that case, the structure of matter and energy would become unimaginable to us. Without strong gravity, stars might not form in the way we know. Instead of the gas collapsing under its own gravity to trigger nuclear fusion, the gas would disperse. Stars, the source of light and energy in the universe, would be rare phenomena, forming only in areas where other forces, like the electromagnetic force, dominate. And planets, as we know them, would also be unable to exist. The process of planet formation begins with matter orbiting a central star, being compressed and accumulating through gravity. Without strong gravity, protoplanetary disks would not form, and planets as a cohesive entity would be unthinkable. If, in Universum Proximum, the properties of hydrogen and oxygen were to change, liquid water, a prerequisite for life by our definition, would also not exist. If these basic conditions are absent, could an alternative life form emerge under different physical rules? This alien or extra-dimensional life form might not be carbon-based, or perhaps not even based on chemistry as we understand it. As we will explore later, beings from these universes might be so bizarre as to be unrecognizable. Assuming there are thousands of different universes, with each universe containing billions of planets, the variety of landscapes is dizzying. Imagine a planet with an atmosphere rich in carbon. High pressure and temperature would create conditions for the formation of diamond or ruby crystals. These crystals would fall as rain, adorning the planet's surface with glittering gemstones. Or a planet with an extremely high concentration of strong acid, where the rivers are acid instead of water. These rivers would violently erode the terrain, creating spectacular canyons and rock formations we've never seen. In another world, with special atmospheric and geological conditions, structures resembling trees but composed of transparent minerals might evolve. Imagine a glowing forest, refracting sunlight in brilliant, enchanting ways. Or a planet in a binary star system, experiencing 2 sunrises and 2 sunsets every day. Its sky would change color dramatically, from warm to cold, as the light from the 2 suns interacts. And perhaps one of the strangest sights, a planet with an atmosphere so dense that colossal continents float in the air, like large islands on a sea. Thanks to the thick atmosphere, these land masses could maintain buoyancy, drifting freely with the air currents, completely changing how the creatures on that planet move and live. These visions are not merely imagination. They are mathematical possibilities when the physical constants are tweaked. They invite us to accept that the reality waiting for us stretches far beyond all of our everyday experiences. In theoretical physics, if there is anything closest to a true gateway to other dimensions, it must be the wormhole. Conceived as a theoretical solution to Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity equations, a wormhole is essentially a shortcut through space-time. It's like folding a piece of paper in half and sticking a pencil through. Instead of traveling the long distance across the surface, you go straight through. A wormhole consists of 2 mouths connected by a throat, a tunnel. These two mouths can open into two far separated regions in our universe, or more importantly, open into other dimensions or universes. Scientists classify them into two main types: intra-universe wormholes, connecting 2 points within the same universe, allowing us to travel colossal galactic distances in record time. Inter-universe wormholes. These are tunnels that connect one universe directly to another, providing a potential path to completely different realities. Mathematically, the possibility of wormholes connecting dimensions is viable. However, the physics required to achieve and maintain that connection remains in the realm of pure hypothesis. Theory suggests that to keep a wormhole open long enough for anything to pass through, we need something called exotic matter. This exotic matter is required to have enormously negative pressure, a property that contradicts almost every form of matter we observe in the known universe. It has a type of energy that warps space-time in the opposite direction, preventing the wormhole's throat from collapsing instantly under its own gravity. Not only have we not found this exotic matter, but we also do not have the technology to create or manipulate it. Manipulating gravity on that scale is simply beyond modern technological capability. Because of these limitations, considering wormholes as interdimensional travel gates remains a bold assumption. For now, it is a powerful theoretical tool for exploring the possibilities of fundamental physics and the limits of relativity theory. Now, let's turn our attention to a real cosmic entity, whose behavior remains a deep mystery: the black hole. Described as a point of no return, a black hole forms when a massive amount of matter collapses under its own gravity, being compressed into an infinitely small point called a singularity. Surrounding this point is the invisible boundary called the event horizon. Anything that crosses this boundary is trapped forever, with no possibility of escape due to the extreme gravitational force. The nature of the singularity and the events inside the horizon remain a veil of mystery. The laws of physics we know seem to break down at this point. Since no information escapes the event horizon, what truly happens inside is something we cannot directly observe. This mystery has prompted physicists to propose many hypotheses, from the complete destruction of matter to the possibility of it being transferred to another universe. Some theoretical models suggest that one end of a wormhole could be connected to a black hole, while the other end opens up in a different part of space-time as a white hole. A white hole, theoretically, is the time reversal of a black hole, where no matter can enter, and matter can only be pushed out. Although black holes have been observed, white holes are not an observed astrophysical object. In summary, the idea that a black hole could be a gateway to a wormhole or another dimensional gate is a pure hypothesis, but it is a hypothesis that suggests black holes could be the junction point where the rules of our universe meet the possibilities of the multiverse. Outside of science fiction, is travel to other stars, interstellar travel, really feasible for humanity? The first challenge is the immense distance. The closest star to the Sun, Proxima Centauri, is about 4 light-years away from us. Even traveling at the speed of light, which current technology cannot reach, the journey would still take 4 years. With current technology, our spacecraft would take thousands of years to get there. Scientists have proposed and are developing theoretical methods to overcome this limit: antimatter propulsion. When antimatter contacts matter, it creates a pure energy explosion. Theoretically, this energy could provide the thrust to achieve speeds close to the speed of light. Solar sails. Giant sails, propelled by the pressure of light from the sun or powerful lasers from Earth, could accelerate a spacecraft to a fraction of the speed of light. When talking about interstellar travel, we must face the human challenge: how to sustain life on a journey lasting decades or multiple generations. A spacecraft must be designed to be a closed ecosystem, a sustainable life support system, self-producing food and recycling water. In addition, psychological and social factors must also be carefully considered, such as prolonged isolation and confinement. One possibility scientists are exploring is generation ships. The spacecraft is designed to house multiple generations of astronauts. Families would be born, live, and die throughout the journey, with the hope that their descendants will be the ones to set foot on the final destination. Such journeys are not just a science project. They are a cultural mission, a test of humanity's perseverance and long-term vision. The allure of time travel has fueled human imagination since H.G. Wells wrote about the time machine. But can it happen in reality? According to Einstein's special theory of relativity, travel to the future is already a proven possibility. If an astronaut travels at extremely fast speeds, close to the speed of light, time will pass slower for them compared to those remaining on Earth, a phenomenon called time dilation. Technically, this person has traveled to Earth's future. However, travel to the past is an entirely different story. The general theory of relativity opens up this possibility by allowing space-time to be warped to the point where it twists back on itself. A theoretical example is the closed time-like curves, CTCS. If you travel along a CTC, you will return to the space-time point where you started, in the past. Theory suggests that a wormhole could be transformed into a time machine. If one mouth of the wormhole is launched into space at near light speed, and the other mouth is kept stationary, time dilation will create an age difference between the two mouths. This would allow travel through the wormhole to arrive at the time point where the other mouth is older. However, travel to the past runs into the biggest obstacle, time paradoxes. If you return to the past and prevent your own existence, the grandfather paradox, you will create a logical contradiction that causes reality to collapse. Some theories, like Novikov's self-consistency principle, suggest that the laws of physics will prevent any action in the past that creates a paradox, meaning you will always be destined to act in a way that preserves history. However, the multiverse offers an elegant solution. When you travel to the past and change it, you don't change the history of the original universe, but simply create a new parallel universe with an altered timeline. Finally, we must confront the most encompassing and haunting hypothesis, the simulation hypothesis. This idea questions whether everything we have discussed, from black holes, the multiverse, to life, is just part of a colossal computer program created by a vastly advanced civilization. Philosophers and physicists have considered this. If we reach a level of technology where we can create complex, perfectly realistic, and conscious computer simulations, then it is highly probable that we are living in a simulation created by some progenitor civilization. In this context, dimensional gates or strange physical phenomena might not be wormholes, but coding errors, loopholes in the simulation program that allow us to peek into or access other levels or other simulated universes. The dream of the multiverse, time travel, and parallel dimensions invites us to expand our vision beyond what the naked eye can see. Whether we are living in a single reality or are part of a grand simulation, these questions are the beacon driving human exploration. We may not yet be able to open a gate to another world, but by asking these questions, we have already begun the journey into the deepest dimensions of our own minds and understanding. As you fall asleep tonight, know that it is in these profound reflections that we find our greatest hope, that the universe is not only larger than we thought, but more marvelous than we can imagine. Let your mind drift through the stars, across the dimensions, and rest in the infinite stillness of the multiverse. For centuries, humans measured their existence by three simple parameters: height, width, and depth. These three spatial dimensions created the stage for every moment, every event in our lives. But then, a man with messy hair and shining eyes, the great physicist Albert Einstein, came and told us that was not all. To Einstein, time was not just an abstract concept used to count age or schedule train arrivals. He wove time into the cosmos, declaring it the fourth dimension, an inseparable axis that, along with the three familiar spatial dimensions, creates a seamless fabric called space-time. Imagine, you are not just moving across a room from point A to point B. You are also moving through time. Every step forward in space is also a moment passing in time. We are not entities that only exist in space, but continuous travelers sliding on the soft, flexible cloth of space-time. And this is where the story gets fascinating, because if time is a dimension, a road, then theoretically it should be possible to manipulate it, to bend it. This idea opened the theoretical door to a possibility humans have dreamed of since the dawn of civilization: time travel. According to Einstein's general theory of relativity, gravity is not a pulling force. It is the distortion of space-time caused by massive objects. Imagine a bowling ball placed on a stretched trampoline. The trampoline dips. That is how planets and stars bend space-time. The astonishing thing is, this distortion doesn't just affect space. It also affects time. Where gravity is stronger, time will pass slower. That is a proven truth of the universe. And nowhere in the universe is the gravitational force more terrifying than a black hole. Invisible monsters that swallow all light, bending space-time to its extreme limit. Let's turn our minds to Gaia BH1, the closest black hole to Earth that we know of. It is an enormous distance from us, about 1,566 light-years away. If a spaceship could reach the speed of light, an impossibility with current technology, the one-way trip would take 1,566 years. But suppose we could get there. Suppose a human spaceship approaches the danger zone, where the chaos of gravity begins. To avoid being swallowed, the ship must maintain a minimum distance, about 85 kilometers from the black hole's center. Assume our astronauts undertake a 5-year mission, flying around the black hole at that distance. For them, inside the ship, only 5 years pass. They age 5 years. However, for us, those who remain on Earth, because the intense gravity of Gaia BH1 has slowed their clock, time passes differently. While they only experience 5 years, on Earth, about 6 years have passed. Now, let's total this grand journey. To go and return, the spaceship took a total of 3,132 years if traveling at the speed of light, plus the 6 years they hovered near the black hole total. 3,138 years have passed on Earth. When the astronauts return, if they can, they will find an Earth that has completely changed, perhaps unrecognizable. They only experienced a few years of wandering in space, but they have traveled 3,138 years into the future. Compared to their contemporaries, they have become astonishingly preserved people from the distant past. This is time travel to the future, a possibility allowed by Einstein's formulas, a physical reality. However, no matter how appealing the theory, the door to time travel remains locked by insurmountable barriers. The first barrier, the speed of light. To achieve that speed, we need a colossal amount of energy, a resource that could lead to catastrophic consequences for any physical object. This is a limit that our current technology is still very far from. But if travel to the future is a technical challenge, then travel to the past is a conflict of logic. If travel to the future is a grim consequence of gravity, then travel to the past is a dangerous dream. A dream drawn by the very elegant equations of the general theory of relativity. Physicists call them closed time-like curves, CTCS. These are paths in space-time that a traveler can follow, eventually returning to the exact moment and place where they started, a perfect time loop. Mathematically, these loops can exist. But in the physical world, we have never observed them. And there is a profound reason why many believe they cannot be realized with our technology, or perhaps with any technology. That reason is the grandfather paradox. Imagine you, a time traveler, go back to the past. You meet your grandfather when he was young, before he met your grandmother, and you take an action that changes events, preventing your grandfather from having children. If you succeed in preventing the birth of your parent, and therefore prevent your own birth, what happens then? If you were never born, you wouldn't be able to travel through time. And if you don't travel through time, you wouldn't be able to go back to the past to prevent your birth. This is an endless logical loop, an irreconcilable contradiction threatening to collapse all our concepts of causality. The death of the grandfather would destroy the very action that caused the death. Your existence is a prerequisite for your action, but that action negates your existence. This paradox forces scientists to confront a classic philosophical and physical question. Does the universe allow self-contradiction? To resolve this logical impasse, theorists have proposed imaginative solutions. One of the most common solutions is the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. In this view, when you travel to the past and perform an action that changes history, for example, preventing your grandfather, you do not actually change your original timeline. Instead, you have created a new timeline or a parallel universe. In this new universe, your grandfather died young, but the original universe, where you were born and undertook the trip, remains intact and unaffected. This means you do not affect your own existence. You are only affecting an alternate version of the past, a different version of the universe. The paradox is avoided, but the price is the birth of countless different universes, each representing every possible choice made in history. Another, more subtle solution is Novikov's self-consistency principle. This principle proposes that any action you take when traveling to the past is, in essence, already a part of the history you are trying to change. In other words, the universe has an inherent self-defense mechanism. If you try to prevent your grandfather, some force will intervene to stop that action. Maybe your gun jams. Maybe your grandfather catches a cold and stays home that day. Or perhaps the very action you thought was a change is the cause that leads to the historical event as you know it. According to Novikov, you cannot create a paradox. Every attempt to change the past will fail or has already been accounted for in the course of history. History is predetermined, and your intervention is a small detail in that unchangeable causal chain. And finally, a third idea: travel to an alternative past version. You never return to your own past, but only to a past version of a neighboring universe. Any changes you create only affect their history, leaving your timeline safe and unchanged. These theoretical debates continue, but they don't stop the stories of people who allegedly crossed the time barrier. We have John Teeter, the mysterious internet user in 2000, who claimed to be a time-traveling firefighter from 2036, carrying a time machine built by General Electric Titer, made alarming predictions about a civil war in the US and the collapse of society. Or perhaps the more famous story of the man at South Forks Bridge in 1941, Canada. In the black and white photo of the bridge's inauguration, a man stands out with a printed t-shirt, a modern jacket, and sunglasses. Was he just a fashion pioneer or a wandering visitor from the future? These stories, whether proven to be hoaxes or simply misunderstandings of local attire, continue to fuel our endless curiosity about what lies beyond the simple timeline we live in. In the journey of exploring the possibility of time travel, we cannot ignore the anecdotes where the line between reality and fiction blurs. One of the strangest stories comes from Tokyo, Japan in 1954. A man arrived at the airport and presented his passport. Everything seemed normal, except for his origin. He insisted he was from Torrid, a country seemingly located between France and Spain. The problem was, Torrid did not exist on any of our maps. The man was detained by the authorities. He was confused, angry, unable to understand why everyone denied the existence of his homeland. The documents and currency he carried seemed genuine, but they did not belong to any known nation. While awaiting further investigation, the man mysteriously vanished from the guarded room without leaving any trace. Could he have been a lost traveler from a parallel timeline where Torrid was indeed an existing country? Or was it just a case of mistaken identity inflated into a legend? The universe holds answers that are inaccessible to us. Another story takes us to Times Square in New York in 1950. Rudolph Fentz, a man dressed in 19th century fashion, appeared amidst the hustle and bustle of the modern world, completely bewildered by the sight of cars and neon lights. He was struck by a car and died. In his pockets, police found items dating back to the 1870s. Old currency, business cards, and a letter stamped from a century prior. Police records later showed a man named Rudolph Fentz had been missing since 1876. This story became a famous piece of evidence in popular culture regarding the danger and possibility of time travel. However, later research revealed a less thrilling truth. The story of Fentz was originally a work of fiction written in the 1970s and mistakenly taken as a factual report. Nevertheless, it shows our desire, our readiness to accept the extraordinary when faced with seemingly inexplicable evidence. In the 1950s, an Italian priest named Pellegrino Ernetti claimed to have created a revolutionary device, the chronovisor. Ernetti claimed this device, essentially a time microscope, allowed him to view events in the past as if they were happening in real time. He claimed to have observed critical historical events, including seeing Christ on the cross and a lost performance by the ancient Roman composer Quintus Ennius. If true, the chronovisor would be the ultimate proof that time is not lost, that every moment is preserved. However, the existence of this device has never been proven. Critics and scientists dismissed it, considering it an elaborate hoax. This highlights a painful reality. Between the fervent desire to know and the actual capability to execute, there is often a large, unbridgeable gap. Not every attempt at time travel stems from pure curiosity. For Ronald Mallet, a theoretical physicist at the University of Connecticut, his motivation was love. Mallet lost his beloved father when he was a child. The grief and the urge to see him again drove him to dedicate his career to studying the possibility of time travel. Inspired by H.G. Wells's novel, The Time Machine, he focused his research on Einstein's theory of relativity. Mallet's work centers on the idea that powerful light, specifically a rotating laser ring, could bend the space-time within it, creating a closed time-like curve. This loop would theoretically allow information, or even matter, to travel backward in time. Although mathematically compelling, scientists were quick to point out insurmountable physical challenges. Mallet's theory requires energy and technology far beyond our capability. Its physical feasibility remains a major question mark. Nonetheless, Mallet's story is a powerful reminder that time travel is not just physics. It is a hope, a refusal to accept that lost loved ones are forever gone, beyond our reach. Concluding this segment, we explore a popular but also physics-based fictional concept: hyperspace. Hyperspace is envisioned as an alternative dimension that allows us to take a shortcut, overcoming the speed of light barrier. Einstein declared nothing could move faster than light. But what if you don't move through space but bend or go through it? Imagine a sheet of paper. 2 points at opposite ends are very far apart. But if you fold the paper, those 2 points touch, creating a shortcut. Hyperspace would be a means to do that with space-time. If we could access this multi-dimensional space, We wouldn't just shorten spatial distances, but could also experience time in entirely new ways. In a massive underground tunnel deep beneath the Swiss and French border exists one of humanity's greatest engineering marvels, CERN's Large Hadron Collider, LHC. This is the world's largest particle physics laboratory, designed to smash subatomic particles together at near light speed, aiming to explore the basic components of the universe. The LHC's primary goal is to test theoretical predictions, including the potential existence of extra dimensions, an idea stemming from string theory. This extreme experiment has sparked both scientific excitement and science-fictional fears. Could the LHC accidentally create a gateway to another dimension? Or worse, could it create microscopic black holes? Theoretically, high-energy collisions could create incredibly tiny black holes, but science assures us that any black hole created would vanish instantly through a process called Hawking radiation before they could cause any damage. The truth is, the idea of the LHC opening a door to another dimension is an idea belonging only to science fiction. The energy the LHC generates, while large by Earth standards, is still too minuscule compared to the energy required to truly warp spacetime and create a dimensional portal. To bend spacetime to that extent, to create something like a wormhole or a teleportation gate, requires an amount of energy comparable to a neutron star or a forming black hole. This is entirely out of reach for modern technology. In fact, the universe itself conducts particle collision experiments with much higher energy than the LHC. Cosmic rays constantly collide with our atmosphere without causing any catastrophe. The safety of the LHC has been a top priority, and all studies conclude that any strange phenomena created would disappear immediately. The experiments at CERN seeking evidence for extra dimensions are driven by string theory, an attempt to create a theory of everything. String. Theory proposes that the basic components of the universe are not tiny point particles, but vibrating strings of energy. The different vibrations of these strings create the various types of particles and forces we observe. However, for the mathematical formulas of string theory to be consistent, they must require more than the 4 space-time dimensions we experience. Early versions needed 10 dimensions. A refined version, called M-theory, raised this number to 11 dimensions. So where are these extra dimensions? They are believed to be compactified at an extremely tiny, almost unmeasurable scale. Imagine a slender cable. From a distance, it looks like a one-dimensional line. But when you zoom in, you see its circumference, a second dimension that is curled up. Similarly, 11 extra dimensions are believed to exist, tightly curled up, so that they only affect physics at the subatomic level. The necessity of these 11 dimensions is an effort to resolve a major conflict in modern physics: the incompatibility between Einstein's general theory of relativity and quantum mechanics. Relativity theory describes the universe at the large scale, planets, galaxies, and the smooth curvature of spacetime. Quantum mechanics describes the universe at the small scale, the bizarre behavior of particles, where they can exist in multiple states at once, superposition, and where their exact position and momentum cannot be simultaneously known, the uncertainty principle. When scientists try to apply relativity theory to extreme situations, such as inside a black hole, the equations collapse. Einstein's smooth description of spacetime cannot operate at the quantum scale, where everything becomes chaotic and uncertain. This is where string theory and the 11 dimensions come into play. By adding extra dimensions, physicists hope to have enough mathematical space to unify all the fundamental forces of nature, including gravity, into a single, harmonious, and logical framework. In the 11-dimensional framework, singularities, like the center of a black hole, where the old equations break down, would be smoothed out and more fully described. It's like trying to describe a crumpled piece of paper using only 2 dimensions. You can't. You need depth, the 3rd dimension, to fully understand its complexity. Similarly, the 11 dimensions provide the necessary space to understand both gravity, large physics, and quantum mechanics, small physics together. Although still in the realm of theory, M-theory offers a hopeful vision. A universe that is not just a 4-dimensional tapestry, but an 11-dimensional hyper-entity, where every event, every force, and every moment of time are perfectly interwoven. There are places in this world where the curtain separating the past and the present becomes frighteningly thin. We call it history, but perhaps it is also a doorway. A doorway opening into moments that should have remained quiet in the dust of time. Listen closely. If you are still enough, you can feel invisible cracks running along the fabric of reality. In 1863, the American Civil War reached its terrifying peak. Battlefields like Gettysburg became furnaces consuming the lives of tens of thousands. But the strange thing is, even after the gunfire has long ceased, the battlefield seems to have never truly closed. Today, visitors who set foot here often report inexplicable experiences. They don't just see the faint silhouettes of soldiers. They also hear the sharp sound of gunfire, desperate screams, and even the smell of burnt gunpowder, a scent of death that cannot be a product of imagination. Some believe this is the manifestation of the spirits of fallen soldiers, whose presence, pain, and will to fight are still so strong that they have somehow crossed the boundary of time. They are not trapped ghosts. They are energy echoes of a great tragedy, activated by the very heavy, sorrow-soaked atmosphere of the place we are witnessing a time crack, where the past is not a closed book, but a film that is still replaying. But these anomalous doorways don't always open at sites of great historical events. Sometimes they appear right in a family's ordinary kitchen. In 1971, in the small village of Belmez de la Moraleda, Spain, a phenomenon began, known as the Faces of Belmez. In the home of the Pereira family, human faces suddenly, inexplicably appeared on the kitchen floor. These faces were diverse, from expressions of pain, anger, to almost serene countenances. The shocking thing was that they were not fixed. They disappeared and reappeared with new features. It was as if an invisible artist was continuously repainting his picture right beneath people's feet. Paranormal investigators hypothesized that this was the manifestation of trapped spirits caught between dimensions. They suggested that these faces were formed from psychic energy or were related to the remnants of an ancient cemetery deep beneath the house. The kitchen floor was not a floor, but part of a melting barrier to the netherworld. However, scientific analyses leaned towards another possibility, that these faces were created artificially using sophisticated chemical techniques, utilizing silver nitrate or various pigments. Whatever the truth, the Belmez phenomenon raises questions about the boundary between the material and the immaterial. Could it be that these faces are proof that the human will, even after death, still has the ability to adjust the physical environment around us? The invisible threat, the chaos of unknown origin. This is the nature of the poltergeist phenomenon, a term meaning noisy ghost in German. Throughout human history, poltergeists have sowed terror with inexplicable events, objects moving by themselves, strange noises, and other physical disturbances that seem to have a supernatural origin. Notably, these events often revolve around a specific individual, typically a young person undergoing a period of psychological stress. In the most violent poltergeist cases, a clear change in the physical environment is visible. These events not only cause objects to fly, but also seem to distort the witness's perception of time and space. This leads some researchers to ask, is the poltergeist merely the release of psychic energy, or is it actually an entry point to other dimensions? Events that blatantly violate physical laws, such as objects levitating without physical force, suggest the presence of forces or energy fields that current science cannot explain or recognize. These anomalies open up an astonishing idea: the possibility of tears in space-time, cracks, which under certain conditions allow us to access an alternate reality. In some accounts, people affected by poltergeists describe moments where the laws of time and space seem to be distorted. They talk about missing time, spatial distortion within their own home, and even visions of other worlds. This is not a story about mere ghosts. This is a story about moments when the universe is folding in on itself. These experiences, whether they are echoes of a battlefield or faces appearing on a kitchen floor, are all reminders that the world we live in is likely far more complex than what the naked eye can see. Among the myriad of paranormal phenomena, perhaps nothing confuses us more than the alteration of the very flow of time. The phenomenon of time shift, also known as missing time or stretch time, is one of the strangest puzzles humans face. These are moments when we feel we have lost hours in the blink of an eye. Or, conversely, brief moments drag on endlessly, as if we are wading through honey. A famous case of time shift is the Highway 5 incident in California. Many independent witnesses, while driving through a specific stretch of road, described incredible time jumps. They had only been driving for a few minutes, but their clocks showed several hours had passed. They arrived at their destination much earlier than expected, with a mysterious block of missing time. Where did those minutes go? Is it possible that, at points of strong energy intersection, the Earth can create small-time vortices, warping the speed of our movement through space-time? Another location, steeped in theories of UFOs and advanced technology, is also a site of time anomalies. Area 51 in Nevada, USA. Many personnel and visitors here have recorded stories of unusual time events. Some explain this as the result of interaction with extremely advanced technologies, perhaps alien or perhaps human. Technologies capable of manipulating or altering our perception of time. Area 51 is not just a military base. It could be an invisible laboratory where the rules of the universe are bent in silence. But sometimes time cracks do not just affect an individual, but spread to the collective memory of humanity. We are talking about the Mandela Effect. The Mandela Effect is the phenomenon where a large number of people remember an event in a way that differs from what history records. The name stems from the mysterious case. Countless people asserted they vividly remember watching news reports of Nelson Mandela's death while he was still in prison in the 1980s. However, in reality, Nelson Mandela died in 2013. This phenomenon has fueled one of the most audacious hypotheses of speculative science. The Mandela Effect is proof that parallel universes exist. This hypothesis suggests that at certain times, we may have perceived or interacted with these parallel realities. The discrepancies in our collective memory are the moments when our timeline has intersected with another. People experiencing the Mandela Effect may be catching a glimpse of a universe where things unfolded in a slightly different scenario. Consider other iconic examples. Many people remember the famous Darth Vader line in Star Wars as, "Luke, I am your father," but the exact line is, "No, I am your father." Similarly, in Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, countless people remember the evil queen saying, "Mirror, mirror," when in fact the line is different. These mass memory errors suggest that something deep, perhaps multidimensional, is happening. Of course, neuroscience offers a more cautious explanation. Human memory is inherently fallible. It is affected by countless factors, from emotional state, external suggestion to cultural influences. The brain tends to fill in the blanks with information it believes is correct, creating false memories. However, the fact that millions of people across different cultures and ages share the same false memory is still difficult to dismiss with just a shrug. Is the Mandela Effect evidence for the existence of innumerable versions of ourselves, each living a slightly different life in parallel universes? And are these differences in collective memory not brain malfunctions, but small lightning bolts of consciousness jumping across dimensional barriers? We still do not know. But knowing that reality can be bent and that our memory might be a mirror reflecting more than one world is an idea powerful enough to make us pause and wonder. When our physical body faces destruction, does the mind find an escape route? Near-death experiences, NDEs, have been recorded throughout history, often occurring in moments of critical illness or serious accidents. Regardless of religion or personal belief, these stories often share common elements: a feeling of absolute peace, a journey through a tunnel, and encounters with light entities or beings. From a scientific perspective, NDEs are a mystery. They often occur when the brain is under extreme pressure or nearly shut down. One of the common explanations is the cerebral anoxia hypothesis, suggesting that a reduction of oxygen to the brain causes an altered state of consciousness, leading to abnormal perceptions. A similar condition occurs when we suffer from oxygen deprivation at high altitudes, causing hallucinations. However, for those who believe in the existence of multiple universes, NDEs are interpreted in a completely different way. Here is a bold hypothesis. Near-death experiences are moments where the individual perceives cracks in reality or even travels through a dimensional portal. In that state, they may sense realities that are normally hidden from our senses, touching the very fabric of space-time. The feeling of detachment from the physical body is explained as a transition from our space-time reality to another. If we consider the body as an object confined to the current dimension, then leaving it is a shift to a different reality. Communication with light entities could be interaction with beings from other dimensions. And the deepest thing of all, near-death experiences often bring about a great transformation for the survivors. They return with a fresh perspective on life and death, a deeper sense of connection to the universe. Seeing beyond the physical world seems to have expanded their consciousness, completely changing their understanding of existence and the cosmos. Then we have déjà vu. In French, it means already seen. These are mysterious seconds, brief moments that make us question our perception. It is the intense feeling that we are reliving a moment that has happened before, even though the situation is completely new. Although it only lasts a few seconds, this sense of familiarity is incredibly strong. From a scientific perspective, the most common explanation is an abnormality in the memory process. Déjà vu might be caused by a fleeting desynchronization between the process of memory storage and retrieval. A new experience is incorrectly categorized by our brain, labeling it as an old memory. But this explanation fails to satisfy the emotional depth often accompanying déjà vu. So, let's step into the territory of speculation with another bold hypothesis. If every decision we make creates a new universe, then every version of us is living a slightly different life. When we experience a déjà vu, are we sensing a moment that an other self has lived in a parallel universe? That is, our very self has gone through the same or a very similar event in one of the countless other universes, and that explains why we feel a sense of remembrance. This dimensional intersection is not a physical journey. It is a fleeting moment of mental connection, where the barrier between universes becomes thin, a leak of consciousness suyen through the fabric of reality, allowing one version of us to touch the experience of another version. Both near-death experiences and déjà vu challenge our fundamental understanding of time, space, and consciousness. They are the whispers of the universe, suggesting that what we call reality is only one of an infinite number of possible realities. And as we drift off to sleep, our minds are perhaps gliding through those tunnels of light and those repeating déjà vu moments. If dimensions truly intersect, are there places on our planet that are hotspots for this interference? Places where the wall between worlds becomes routinely thin. One of the most mysterious locations is the Bermuda Triangle, a vast region of the North Atlantic between Bermuda, Miami, and Puerto Rico. This place has become a contemporary legend after a series of inexplicable disappearances. Records of unusual events date back to Christopher Columbus, who reported strange lights on the sea and a compass spinning erratically. But it was after the Flight 19 incident in 1945, when a squadron of 5 U.S. Navy planes and 14 crew members vanished without a trace, that the Bermuda Triangle entered paranormal history. The pilots' last communication suggested they were completely disoriented and couldn't recognize their location. Even a rescue plane sent afterward also disappeared. While scientific explanations offer the possibility of methane gas bubbles on the seabed causing hydrological disturbances, or simply due to high traffic density and human error, the hypothesis of a dimensional portal persists. This hypothesis suggests that at the Bermuda Triangle, the barriers between dimensions are very thin, allowing ships and planes to inadvertently drift into another plane of existence. The erratic behavior of navigational equipment, compasses spinning wildly, machinery malfunctioning, is used as evidence that an energy force that current science cannot explain is operating in this area. Moving away from the ocean, let's go to the arid desert of Sedona, Arizona. This place is said to have vortices, powerful energy centers of the Earth. Believers in Sedona's power describe these vortices as places where ground energy is concentrated and extraordinarily accessible. Visitors often tell of feeling rejuvenated, mental clarity, or even spiritual experiences and encounters with entities from other dimensions. While scientists attribute this to the majestic natural beauty and its ability to induce a meditative state, thousands still flock here, believing they are standing on a cosmic energy point. In rural England, Stonehenge stands tall as a silent question 5,000 years old. The precise arrangement of the colossal stones, aligned with astronomical phenomena like the solstices, suggests advanced knowledge from the builders. Transporting the 25-ton stones from hundreds of kilometers away remains an engineering mystery. Many consider Stonehenge not just an observatory or temple, but an energy gateway, or a multi-dimensional connection point. Every year, thousands gather here on the summer and winter solstices to witness the sunrise or sunset aligning with the stones, as if they are participating in a ritual to activate an invisible time machine. And finally, high in the Andes Mountains, near Lake Titicaca, Peru, is the mysterious Gate of Aramumuru. Inca legend tells that a priest named Aramumuru, escaping from Spanish invaders, used a golden disc as a key to open this stone gate. When the disc was placed in the correct position, a pathway to another dimension opened, and the priest vanished from this world forever. This stone gate is considered a threshold between worlds, a relic testifying to the ability of ancient civilizations to travel through space-time. All these mysteries lead us to the multidimensional hypothesis of UFOs. This hypothesis proposes that unidentified flying objects, UFOs, are not necessarily visitors from other planets, the extraterrestrial hypothesis, but are manifestations of other dimensions coexisting with us. According to supporters of this hypothesis, UFOs are just a modern expression of a phenomenon that has occurred throughout human history. Previously, these phenomena were attributed to mythological or supernatural beings, Today we call them aliens. UFOs and their occupants could be entities from other planes of existence, who can materialize and dematerialize by switching between material levels. They could be creatures or even humans from a different dimension. This is an alternative explanation for the inexplicable physical behavior of UFOs: instantaneous movement, sudden appearance, and disappearance. They are not violating our physical laws, but are simply following the laws of another reality. In the darkness, when the world outside is quiet, remember, reality is a fragile concept. Time cracks, faces on the floor, warped areas of space. All suggest that we are standing at the crossroads of countless universes. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let your mind glide across the thin boundary between reality and nothingness. For decades, we have looked up at the night sky, wondering if someone is watching us from distant stars. Are unidentified flying objects, or UFOs, machines from another planet piloted by extraterrestrial beings? That is a captivating question. But for some of the greatest thinkers in the field of UFO research, the answer is far stranger and more profound. We are talking about a theory that challenges everything you have ever known about space, time, and existence. It is the interdimensional hypothesis, an idea that suggests these mysterious entities do not come from distant planets, but from other dimensions, parallel to our own. Let's consider the pioneers. The legendary UFO researcher John Keel laid the groundwork for this idea. For Keel, trying to fit the entire complex UFO phenomenon into the framework of aliens from Mars was too restrictive. Keel called these creatures ultra-terrestrial, extra-spatial entities capable of moving between their dimension and ours. The key to Keel's viewpoint is the terrifying capability of these ultra-terrestrials, manipulating human perception. They don't just fly in the sky. Keel believed they have manipulated humanity throughout history, perhaps to study or influence our development. Furthermore, Keel emphasized that many UFO encounters were linked to paranormal phenomena, the appearance of strange creatures, psychic experiences. This suggests that UFOs are not mere machines, but part of a complex, multi-dimensional phenomenon with countless anomalies. Next is Jacques Vallée, a respected computer scientist and UFO researcher. Initially, Vallée strongly supported the idea of visitors from other planets. However, over time, he came to a revolutionary conclusion. The extraterrestrial hypothesis is too limited, insufficient to explain all the evidence. Vallée then put forth his own argument. UFOs are interdimensional entities that exist outside our space-time. Imagine beings that can appear and disappear at will, change shape, and manipulate our sense of matter. This capability accounts for the constantly changing, sometimes incomprehensible nature of these phenomena, as well as their persistence over thousands of years of history. They are not bound by the laws of physics that we know. They are masters of illusion and reality manipulation. This hypothesis shifts the focus of the investigation. It is no longer, where do they come from in our universe? Instead, it is, where do they come from in the entire panorama of all universes? When the light of a UFO crash flashes in the dark, perhaps we are not just witnessing a spaceship. Perhaps we are seeing a small crack in the veil of reality, a fleeting moment where their dimension touches ours. This is the beginning of the truth, a truth powerful enough to permanently change our understanding of our place in the cosmos, or the multiverse. For a long time, the UFO phenomenon was dismissed as hoaxes, hallucinations, or misidentification of common atmospheric phenomena. The vast majority of reports of unidentified flying objects can be rationally explained. However, there is always a small percentage that remains outside the scope of explanation. A small percentage, but one that carries an enormous weight. And then, the skepticism of the scientific community and the government began to waver in the face of an undeniable chain of events. The most famous incident, the climax of the mystery, is the Roswell incident in 1947. For many researchers, it was not just the debris of a weather balloon. It was irrefutable evidence of a genuine extraterrestrial crash. Prominent among those who believe this hypothesis is the nuclear physicist Stanton Terry Friedman, who dedicated his life to proving Roswell was an off-Earth spacecraft crash. But it wasn't until the modern era, when military technology recorded the evidence, that the debate truly erupted. We are talking about the Pentagon UFOs, video footage recorded by U.S. Navy fighter jets. Although known since 2017, the Pentagon officially confirmed their authenticity in 2020, the first video, known as FLIR-1, recorded in 2004. It shows an elongated object, often called the Tic Tac, moving at blinding speed over the ocean surface, off San Diego. The pilots of the FA-18 Super Hornet could not explain it. The object had no wings, no rotors, no visible propulsion source. It completely defies every basic principle of aviation that we know. The second video, Gimbal, was recorded in 2015 using an infrared camera. We hear the astonished voices of the pilots. A disc-shaped object moves horizontally, then stops and spins on its axis before disappearing. This flight behavior is not only non-physical, but also demonstrates a control far beyond any technology any nation claims to possess. And Go Fast, the third video, also from 2015, captures a small object moving incredibly fast, almost impossible to track by radar, with no sign of propulsion. While these videos confirm the existence of unidentified physical objects, what truly shook the foundation of public belief happened in 2023. That was the appearance of David Grush, a U.S. Air Force intelligence officer. At a congressional hearing, Grush made a shocking and unprecedented declaration. He asserted that the U.S. government is holding secret programs dedicated to the retrieval and reverse engineering of non-human spacecraft. He emphasized that the U.S. possesses multiple non-human crafts and even the bodies of alien pilots. Grush went further, mentioning a craft allegedly recovered in Italy in 1933, then transferred to the U.S. with the help of the Vatican. Furthermore, in a later interview, Grush reinforced the interdimensional hypothesis by implying that these UFOs originate from extra dimensions and may harbor malevolent intent. These claims met with denials from NASA and the Department of Defense, but the story did not stop. Remember the testimony of Ryan Graves. An experienced Navy mechanical and aerospace engineer, Graves and his squadron began seeing these unidentified objects daily after their radar systems were upgraded in late 2013. They thought it was a radar glitch until they saw them with their own eyes. Graves described them as objects capable of remaining completely stationary. Despite strong winds up to 225 kilometers per hour, one was described as a dark cube nestled within a translucent sphere, a bizarre description, yet one that coincides with previous reports. Whatever their nature, the testimony of Graves and the Pentagon videos all point to an undeniable reality. Unusual objects are operating in our airspace. We have confirmed their presence. Now the next question must be, what can they do? To understand the true nature of these unidentified objects, we cannot stop at simply that they are here. We must examine what they can do. The operational capabilities of these objects not only surpass humanity's current technology, but also seem to violate the fundamental laws of physics we once believed in. This is where the extraterrestrial hypothesis begins to become insufficient. Consider these capabilities. Soundless, supersonic speed, These objects appear and disappear instantly, moving at supersonic speeds without generating any sonic boom. This entirely contradicts our understanding of aerodynamics. Lethal maneuvers. They perform sudden and extreme changes in flight direction. For an Earth pilot, these turns would create G-forces, gravitational force, intense enough to tear the human body apart. But these objects seem unaffected by inertia. One plausible explanation is that they have the ability to jump between dimensions or manipulate space-time. They don't need to endure G-forces because they are not moving in the traditional way within our three-dimensional space. They are controlling, with an unimaginably advanced technology, their very inertia and gravity. However, their challenge to physics doesn't stop at motion. Many reports suggest UFOs have the ability to turn invisible or change shape abruptly. This is not stealth through radar-absorbing paint, but a manipulation of light and perception at a fundamental level. Even more frightening is the electromagnetic effect that accompanies their presence. The appearance of UFOs often causes electronic equipment to malfunction. Vehicles stall, radios are jammed, compasses behave erratically. These entities seem to be equipped with a type of technology that allows them to influence or alter surrounding energy fields. This suggests they utilize undiscovered forms of energy, or have the ability to engineer the very basic properties of matter and energy. One of the most concerning aspects is their interest in our nuclear technology. Since the 1940s, UFO sightings have frequently occurred near military facilities housing nuclear weapons. The Rendlesham Forest incident in 1980, near the Bentwaters Air Force Base in England, is a typical example. Military personnel reported seeing strange lights and a metallic object in the forest, which, at the time, was secretly storing nuclear weapons. If these entities are extraterrestrial, their interest might be due to our weapons technology. But if they are interdimensional travelers, the question becomes more complex. Are they trying to ensure we do not use these weapons destructively? Are they observing us from another dimension, only intervening when our actions threaten the balance of the multiverse? Another theory, less common but still fascinating, is that UFOs are time travelers of humanity itself, people from the future observing or interfering at critical moments in history. However, all these possibilities, whether time travelers or masters of physical manipulation, lead us to a single conclusion. We are facing anomalous objects whose origin and capabilities far exceed our current understanding. If we accept the premise that there is an infinite number of universes, the multiverse, then we must confront an astonishing consequence. Within this countless number of realities, there are undoubtedly countless places that have developed intelligent civilizations. Each universe will have its own laws of physics, chemistry, and biology. This means that the life forms existing there will be unimaginably different from what we know on Earth. Imagine the biological forms that could only exist in universes completely different from ours. Dense matter universe. If matter has a much higher density, planets will be larger, and gravity will be extremely high. The creatures there would need to be exceptionally small and robust to move effectively. Their bodies might be a solid mass of muscle, nearly impossible to crush. Rapid evolution universe. With faster mutation and evolution rates, life could develop extremely diverse body structures, such as having extra limbs or organs for multitasking, building complex machinery in record time. Unstable gravity universe. Where gravity changes constantly, creatures must have flexible and adaptable bodies. Imagine creatures with jelly-like, transparent bodies, capable of changing shape, stretching and contracting according to the gravitational intensity. Their faces might have large, multifaceted eyes, seeing in multiple light spectra. Exotic chemistry universe. The chemical laws are different. Instead of being carbon-based, Biology might be silicon-based. These creatures might have crystalline bodies with an appearance similar to glowing quartz. Their limbs could be articulated from rigid segments, capable of separating into multiple segments for precise manipulation. Multidimensional universe. If more than 4 dimensions, space and time, are compressed, intelligent beings would exist in more than 3 spatial dimensions. They would have the ability to pass through solid objects in our 3-dimensional perception. Their communication would be telepathic, occurring instantaneously across multiple dimensions. Their bodies might be loose geometric shapes, continuously changing. Their faces might appear and disappear in different parts of their bodies, with eyes multiplying and shifting. Dark energy dominant universe. Dark energy is a mysterious form of energy driving the expansion of the universe. Creatures here might be composed mainly of energy, capable of shape-shifting and moving without a physical body. Their bodies might be pure energy, vaguely humanoid in shape, with a halo oscillating between deep blue and black. Their eyes might resemble small black holes, emitting energy pulses instead of speech. Non-linear time universe, an even stranger scenario. Time does not flow in one direction, but can advance, recede, stop, or branch. These entities would experience time non-linearly, seeing the past, present, and future simultaneously. They might have a shared memory, stored in a continuous timeline accessible to all members of the species. Their bodies might be segmented into concentric circles, each representing a different point in time. Their skin might resemble a 3-dimensional screen projecting scenes of the past and future. These conjectures, while they sound like science fiction, open the door to deep contemplation about our own reality. The age of the universe is about 13.8 billion years, while human civilization has only existed for about 6,000 to 8,000 years. This enormous time gap suggests the speed at which technological development can be achieved. If our technology continues to grow exponentially, we will soon have the capability to create extremely complex virtual reality simulations with advanced artificial intelligence. That leads us to the final and most haunting question. Are we living in a simulation? If the characters in a video game believe they are conscious and have subjective experience, is their perception of reality any less valuable than ours? And if a certain transcendent civilization has developed the ability to create thousands of simulated universes, is our existence merely a computer code within the supercomputer of a creator? We move through a world of textures, sounds, and vibrant colors, holding a firm belief in the solidity of the ground beneath our feet, in the warmth of the sun on our skin. But what if this complex, wondrous existence is nothing more than a shadow, a digital reflection projected onto a cosmic wall? And what if, deep down, our universe is just one of countless scenarios, a sophisticated program running on the processor of a civilization that exists beyond our comprehension? Visiting the world of our creators, of that hypothetical progenitor civilization, would be like trying to walk through a mirror, like traveling to a dimension that is, by definition, alien and inaccessible to us. This is an idea that initially feels implausible, almost naive, like a science fiction story whispered in one's ear. However, throughout human history, we have learned one crucial lesson. What we deem unthinkable today, tomorrow may become the foundation of our truth. Science frequently advances by means of skepticism, challenging the common sense of the age. Think of the lone voice of Aristarchus of Samos, nearly 2,300 years ago, whispering the truth into the wind. He proposed that the earth itself, in all its grandeur, obediently revolves around the sun, not the other way around. This idea, the heliocentric model, was widely ridiculed, submerged by the power of tradition and the obvious self-evidence that we were the center of everything. His truth slept for centuries, a forgotten parchment in the vast library of time. 18 centuries passed until a brilliant soul like Nicholas Copernicus dared to shake off that ancestral dust, bringing the idea back to life. And then came Galileo and Kepler, who, with a combination of telescopes and divine mathematics, provided irrefutable proof. Only then did humanity, with great reluctance, have to accept that we are pilgrims in the universe, not its anchor point. The pattern repeats. Imagine the 19th century, a period of incredible advances, yet also one of profound medical ignorance. Ignaz Semmelweis, in the hospital wards of Vienna, proposed a revolutionary and at the same time shocking idea that invisible hands, microorganisms, were the cause bringing pestilence and death. He became an object of mockery, his idea ridiculed by a medical community unable to see their enemy. Louis Pasteur, with his laboratory flasks and microscope, took up this truth. Together, they not only proved the existence of a tiny, invisible world that governs us, but also laid the foundation for modern microbiology. An initially unthinkable theory became the basis of life. These stories are not just historical anecdotes. They are a profound invitation to humility. They remind us that reality is a curtain often torn by the simple power of a daring idea. And this is where we enter the curious and dizzying idea of simulation. It is championed not by dreamers on the fringe, but by some of the most intelligent and rigorous minds of our time. Philosopher Nick Bostrom, with a cold and sharp logic, confronted us with what he called the simulation argument. His proposal is simple in presentation, but devastating in its implications. He suggests that, upon observing the future and the potential for technology, one of these three possibilities must be true. Possibility 1. Most advanced civilizations destroy themselves before achieving the necessary computational power to run realistic simulations on a cosmic scale. Cosmic history, in this view, is a silent cemetery of self-extinguished species. Possibility 2. Civilizations that do reach that post-human state decide, for some incomprehensible moral or philosophical reason, not to run any detailed simulations of their ancestors or complex worlds. They choose not to play God. And the third, most challenging possibility, the one that robs us of sleep, that if technological progress is inevitable, and advanced civilizations want to simulate their origins or create worlds out of curiosity, then the overwhelming probability is that we are currently living inside one of these computer simulations. The argument is a triple-edged knife that forces the mind into a state of deep contemplation. If the third option is true, then everything we perceive, feel, and love occurs within the framework of a source code running in the vastness of a hardware located beyond the stars. Hold this stillness. The journey has just begun. If we accept the third possibility in Bostrom's argument, that we are living in a simulation, let's delve deeper into its true implications. Everything leading up to this hypothesis is based on a simple yet powerful belief. Once a civilization reaches a sufficiently advanced level, they will surely seek to recreate their history, their ancestors, or even entire other worlds. Look at ourselves. We are already doing this, albeit at a rudimentary level. Millions of people around the world are simultaneously interacting in increasingly complex virtual worlds. Our video game characters are, in essence, simulated minds. Although they are not yet conscious, we are moving step by step towards that. Bostrom posits that our future generations, or a post-human civilization, will possess a colossal source of computational power, a capacity far exceeding our current imagination. That power allows them to run a countless number of detailed simulations, so realistic that they are indistinguishable from reality. This leads us to a groundbreaking philosophical concept, the substrate independence theory. This theory proposes that consciousness is not limited to biological matter, to our flesh and blood brains. Instead, consciousness is a function, a complex information process. If that information structure is accurately recreated on another substrate, for example, a quantum supercomputer, then that simulated mind can also be conscious, can also feel sorrow, joy, and curiosity, just like us. If this is true, then even if we are the creators in our physical world, when we create virtual worlds, the vast majority of minds existing in the universe will not belong to the original biological species. They will be virtual minds, digital souls experiencing a life they believe is completely real. Currently, we lack the necessary hardware and software to create fully conscious minds, but reflect on the speed of technological progress. If this trend continues unabated, we will be able to simulate not just the physical environment, but the entire human experience of emotions, perception, and history. And this is where the logic becomes cold and unforgiving. Imagine a Type 1 or Type 2 civilization on the Kardashev scale, a civilization that can harness the entire energy of a planet or even a star. Such a civilization, if they decide to run simulations, only needs one successful simulation to then develop and create other simulations within it. Simulated realities will multiply exponentially, like nesting Russian dolls, each containing a world inside. There will be only one base reality where the original code was written, but there will be an infinite or potentially infinite number of simulations running inside it. Now, apply probability logic. If there is one original reality and billions, trillions of simulated realities, then the chance for us, who are listening to this story, to randomly fall into the base reality is extremely small, almost zero. This is the conclusion that great minds like the technology innovator Elon Musk have reached. He argues, if we assume that technological progress will not stop and that advanced civilizations will create many reality simulations, then it is highly improbable that our world is real, and therefore the possibility that it is a simulation is highly probable. This conclusion forces us to look at the world with new eyes, doubting every rule and every phenomenon. It poses the ultimate question. If this is a computer program, where would the leakage signs, the loopholes in the source code, the glitches, be located? We need to look for the doors to other universes, not physical doors made of metal or stone, but cracks, errors, moments where the source code of this reality is exposed. If this world is a program, the only way to truly understand its nature is to look for the loopholes, the places where the source code rather than physical reality is exposed. Theoretical physicist Max Tegmark proposed a fascinating idea. If our universe is a simulation, then the possibility exists of accessing other simulated universes through dimensional doorways. However, these are not doors of wood or metal. Think of a video game. In that digital world, characters often pass through teleportation gates for instantaneous movement. A dimensional doorway, in the simulation context, would be a crack, a glitch in the code of our reality, allowing access to another layer of the program, a deeper level of the simulation. The question is, how do we recognize that crack? Is it hidden in the tiny anomalies, the aberrations we sometimes observe in the universe, or is it right within the fundamental laws governing our existence? The study of quantum physics has revolutionized our understanding of the universe, and at the same time, it provides the most astonishing clues about this simulation possibility. Consider the uncertainty principle formulated by Werner Heisenberg. This principle shows that at the subatomic particle level, We cannot simultaneously know a particle's position and momentum with absolute accuracy. It introduces a level of probability and randomness into nuclear mechanics that is inherently absent in our macroscopic world. This uncertainty led Albert Einstein to utter the famous phrase that God does not play dice. He believed in a universe governed by precise deterministic laws. But quantum mechanics operates like a system based on probability calculation, something that can be easily explained if we are in a simulated system. In a computer program, calculations need to be performed in real time. The probability in quantum mechanics might just be the form in which calculations are being processed inside this simulated system, until we force it to yield a specific result. The other fascinating aspect is quantum entanglement, a phenomenon Einstein called spooky action at a distance. When two particles are entangled, the state of one particle can be determined instantly by the state of the other, regardless of the physical distance between them. In a computer simulation, the connections between data points, particles, are instantaneous and ubiquitous. They are not bound by the traditional limits of space and time. Spooky action at a distance might not be magic, but the unlimited data transfer speed inside a supercomputer. But perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in the observer effect in quantum mechanics. Particles do not seem to possess a definite state until they are observed. Our act of measurement or observation somehow forces the particle to yield a specific state. This principle suggests that we might be in a simulation, where objects are only rendered into a specific physical form when necessary to save computational resources. Imagine the video game again. Parts of the virtual world are only created and detailed when the player approaches. If our reality operates this way, it would explain why our act of measurement influences the result of quantum experiments. The system only calculates the final result when needed, when our eyes look at it. As you lie still in the night, feel this silence. Is the silence when our processor is resting, or when reality is being updated? Are the laws of physics we revere only programmed limitations to keep this virtual world running smoothly? We have traversed logic and quantum mechanics in search of evidence. Now let's turn our attention to the less obvious places, the signs and coincidences that theorists call the architect's signatures, or bugs in the system. One way to detect that we are living in a simulation is to look for anomalies in the laws of physics. These irregularities could be signals of processing errors, or even signs that algorithms are adjusting our universe. For example, an unexplained change in the fundamental physical constants, the numbers that shape our reality, would be a red flag. But the most suspicious thing is not the change, but the fine-tuning of these constants. Contemplate this truth. The fundamental physical constants, such as the speed of light, the gravitational constant, or the electron's electric charge, seem to be perfectly calibrated to allow the formation of atoms, molecules, stars, planets, and ultimately, life. If the speed of light were slightly greater, the relationship between mass and energy would change, potentially making matter unstable. If the gravitational constant were slightly stronger, stars would burn faster, running out of fuel before life could evolve. If the electron's electric charge were different, atomic structures could not form. In the realm of video game development, programmers adjust these parameters to create a playable and balanced environment. If the parameters are adjusted incorrectly, the game becomes impossible. Is this perfect calibration a phenomenal cosmic coincidence, or a sign of a programmed set of parameters? Besides the laws of physics, there are other strange phenomena, the incredible coincidences that seem like random errors. In 1898, the writer Morgan Robertson wrote the novel Futility, telling the story of an ocean liner named Titan, which sank in April due to striking an iceberg in the North Atlantic. 14 years later, the ship Titanic sank with frighteningly similar details. Or the strange parallel between Presidents Lincoln and Kennedy. Both were elected to Congress in years ending in 46, and became president in years ending in 60. Both were assassinated on a Friday, and both were succeeded by men named Johnson. In programming, especially complex simulations, bugs sometimes occur, leading to unwanted behavior. These unbelievable coincidences can be seen as programming errors in our reality simulation. Or, according to a more optimistic hypothesis, perhaps the creators intentionally embedded synchronicity to communicate or interact with the inhabitants. All these reflections lead to the final question. What would happen if we, through science or accidentally, opened a doorway to another dimension? Imagine a top-secret laboratory. After years of research, a blinding beam of light appears, creating a shimmering vortex that opens into an unknown space. A dimensional gate has been opened. This would be a life-changing scientific achievement for humanity, but it also comes with risks. We do not know what forces or what hostile life forms might exist on the other side. We would have to face ethical issues about resource exploitation or the encounter with intelligent life. Culturally, our religions, philosophies, and belief systems would have to adapt to a new reality where the concept of life and death is expanded. If we step through that gate and confront another version of ourselves, an I who made different choices, lived a different life, it would be a disorienting yet enlightening experience. It would be a mirror reflecting the countless existing possibilities, confirming that every small decision creates meaningful ripples in our destiny. And here's the very last, most meditative thing. What if the dreams we experience every night are not just random activations of the brain? What if every dream is a window to a parallel universe, where other versions of us are living different lives? The emotional intensity and vivid realism of some dreams could be the fragments we experience from those alternative lives. And finally, the age-old question: what happens after death? If this life is just a phase, an experience in a continuous chain of existence, then death may not be an end to be feared, but a transition. What if when we close our eyes for the last time in this world, we reawaken in a parallel universe, or even awaken in the base reality from which our simulation was created? Death would be the waking up from a long dream, a simulation designed to teach us certain lessons. We would reconnect with the consciousness we once lived, with a new, renewed purpose, understanding our fears and desires better, just as we wake from a dream and understand the message it carried. As we close this chapter of exploration, we face the infinity of the cosmos and the countless possibilities of the multiverse. But is our very existence only a shadow on the wall, a projection of something far more complex and sophisticated? This reflection invites you to look beyond what is visible and to doubt the very fabric of the reality you are experiencing. Have you ever asked yourself whether this place, the blue planet we call home, is truly the origin of humanity? We, the supposedly most evolved species, carry within us strange biological vulnerabilities, which seem to suggest a different truth, a truth that lies beyond the borders of this earth, where distant stars hold the secret to our true origins. Dr. Ellis Silver, an American ecologist, has boldly put forth a hypothesis that challenges the entire foundation of human history. Humans do not come from Earth. This hypothesis is not based on mythological tales, but on the very inherent weaknesses, the design flaws, right within our biological machinery. Look at your own skin. We are too easily damaged by the sun. While a lizard can bask under the sun for weeks, our body sounds the alarm after just a few days. Why? If we evolved here, why are we so weak against the primary source of life on this planet? We suffer from chronic diseases at a surprisingly high rate, and our digestive system seems unsuited for many types of wild-growing food. But perhaps the most curious thing is the biological clock. Sleep researchers have indicated that the human biological clock seems to be set to fit a 25-hour day. Yet, a day on Earth is only 24 hours. A phase difference of just 1 hour, yet a phase difference that has persisted throughout human history. Could it be that our body is trying to obey the rhythm of another planet, a planet with a longer rotation period where humanity was truly born? This hypothesis gains weight when we delve into our genome. According to a remarkable study, approximately 8% of our DNA is not of human origin. This is equivalent to 19 strange gene segments formed from ancient viral networks hidden deep within. They are called extraterrestrial DNA. These segments are not coded in the usual way. They do not have the evolutionary blueprint typically seen in human DNA. Even when scientists attempt to alter them, they remain unchanged, immutable. Scientists suspect that these peculiar gene sequences may be storing rare information about the universe, a trove of ancient knowledge lying dormant in every cell, awaiting the time when human capabilities are advanced enough to decode it. Could this be the biological seal, the undeniable evidence that we are migrants from somewhere far away, carrying ancient origins from celestial bodies, other planets, or even other spaces? The hypothesis of humanity's cosmic origin is reinforced not only by biological science, but also by profound spiritual discoveries. Dolores Cannon, the inventor of past life regression hypnosis therapy, through nearly 50 years of work with tens of thousands of clients, opened a door to the truth. In deep hypnotic states, her patients recounted consistent stories of their past lives. Dolores Cannon came to a fundamental conclusion. We are all God. We come from heaven and can never be separated from God. We are a part of God, carrying within us limitless potential that we do not realize. Nothing is impossible. Could it be that this earth serves as a prison? Dr. Silver suggests that due to humanity's inherent tendency towards violence, we may have been exiled here to learn proper behavior. Or, as Buddhist scriptures teach, humans were originally born from different realms in the universe, but fell to earth because they became unvirtuous. Whether it is to correct mistakes, to learn, or to help others, deep down, each of us yearns to return to our origin, where we were originally born, in that other universe. Let your mind journey to distant lands where human civilization seems to have retreated, to West Africa, in the country of Mali. Here, nestled on the arid sandstone cliffs, is a tribe almost completely isolated from the modern world, the Dogon people. They are a mysterious community with a modest population, yet inheriting a rich culture and an unbelievable foundation of knowledge. In the 1930s, anthropologists discovered something astonishing. The Dogon legends and symbols contained astronomical scientific data of incredible accuracy. This tribe, without telescopes, without modern schools, yet they knew the astronomical secrets that Western science only confirmed in the 20th century. This is what earned them the title of descendants of extraterrestrials. The centerpiece of the Dogon's knowledge is Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. For most ancient civilizations, Sirius was just a single, brilliant star. But the Dogon people passed down through generations that Sirius is actually a binary star system, or perhaps even a triple star system. What stunned astronomers was their detailed understanding of Sirius B, which the Dogon call Po-Tolo. They knew that Po-Tolo orbits Sirius A with an accurate period of 50 years. They described this planet as having a golden metallic surface, making it extremely dense and supermassive, a precise description of a white dwarf, a type of star with extremely high matter density. Not stopping there, The Dogon also knew about a third star, Amelia, a star of a larger size, yet 4 times lighter than Potolo. The Dogon's knowledge is not limited to the Sirius system. They have detailed knowledge of the Sun and the planets in our solar system. They refer to Jupiter as a giant planet, knowing that it has 4 largest satellites and has a ring surrounding it. Their mythological stories also describe the elliptical orbits of the planetary systems around the Sun. They even suggest that the Sun is Sirius's sibling system, sharing a common origin. So, how did an isolated tribe possess such accurate astronomical knowledge, far surpassing the level of any contemporary civilization, and even Western science for centuries? In 1976, Robert Temple of the Royal Astronomical Society published the sensational book, The Sirius Mystery. He offered the only answer. Approximately 5,000 years ago, the Dogon people were visited by beings from Sirius itself. Those Sirius inhabitants traveled on a large ship, described as creating great storms. They taught the Dogon ancestors the secrets of the universe, similar to the knowledge Temple suggested was also passed down to the ancient Egyptian and Sumerian civilizations. The Dogon creation myth further reinforces this hypothesis. They tell that in the beginning, only the god Amma existed. Out of loneliness, the god created Earth and married a goddess. They gave birth to Nomo, a genderless, half-human, half-fish creature. Nomo is said to live on Sirius. Nomo was tasked by Amma with building civilization for humankind, and is considered the founding ancestor of the Dogon tribe. A work published in 1947, Conversations with Ogotemeli, also recorded accounts of amphibious aliens from Sirius landing on Earth. They are said to have combined their own DNA with other animal species to create the human beings of that time. The origin of the Dogon remains a great puzzle, a question mark right on humanity's cognitive map. Are these legends merely myths, or are they primal memories, perfectly preserved, of a cosmic intervention that shaped our life and knowledge? For over a century, Darwin's theory of evolution and Engels' labor-created man theory have dominated humanity's perception of its own origin. We believe that, through labor and natural selection, apes evolved into the highest form. However, in the history of scientific research, there have always been mysterious gaps that challenge deeply ingrained prejudices, especially the period from 4 to 8 million years ago, a time when the fossil record of human ancestors is almost completely lacking in clear links and evolutionary historical gap where the biggest secrets might be hidden. In 1960, the British professor, Lord Alistair Hardy, put forward a controversial alternative hypothesis, the aquatic ape theory. He suggested that during that empty fossil period, a part of human ancestors went to live in the sea and evolved into aquatic mammals. And the astonishing thing is, this evolutionary history has left undeniable traces on our bodies today. Observe the physiological characteristics that only humans and aquatic mammals share, while terrestrial primates do not. Naked skin. All terrestrial primates have thick fur, but only humans and aquatic mammals are almost naked. Subcutaneous fat. Humans possess a thick layer of fat beneath the skin to maintain warmth, a physiological characteristic completely absent in terrestrial primates, but a hallmark of aquatic mammals. Even the posture of the human fetus differs from that of primates, resembling the fetus of aquatic mammals. Notably, the tears secreted by our lacrimal glands contain salt, similar to the characteristic of aquatic mammals, a necessary physiological mechanism to maintain salt balance in a marine environment. Professor Hardy and later scientists pointed out that humans are natural deep-sea divers. The length of time humans can hold their breath and dive deep underwater far surpasses terrestrial animals. When we dive deep, the body automatically activates a series of basic responses. Muscles contract, arteries reduce blood flow, breathing temporarily stops, and the heart slows down. This response is called the diving reflex, and it is very similar to the reaction of aquatic animals like seals and otters. The important point is that this diving reflex is not a conditioned reflex, but a control by the nerve center in the higher brain segment. This conscious ability to control breathing is the foundation for the development of complex language in humans. Without the capacity for respiratory control formed during the aquatic ape stage, humans would not have the complex method of vocalization we have today. Could it be that the evidence of excellent underwater diving and the ancient seashell graves that have been found, proving that ancient people primarily ate shellfish, are evidence of a subaquatic evolutionary phase that we have forgotten, returning to cosmic origins? A series of recent scientific discoveries are reigniting the hypothesis of the extraterrestrial origin of life on Earth. Firstly, all life on Earth, no matter how complex, share the same cellular organization pattern. All use nucleic acid as genetic material, and albumin forms life. Why didn't life generate different types of organization patterns? Secondly, the element molybdenum is a rare metal on Earth, making up only 0.002% of the Earth's crust. But it plays an important role in the physiological activity of life. Could it be that life on Earth originated from celestial bodies rich in molybdenum? Thirdly, the finding of organic substances in meteorites falling from space, including all the constituent elements of life on Earth, along with the existence of organic molecules in nebulae, leads people to believe that life is not exclusive to Earth. And finally, some scientists have also noted that infectious diseases like the flu often spread across the globe in cycles that coincide with the cycles of certain comets nearing Earth. This raises a big question. Could these epidemics come from comets? If so, then the origin of humanity and the dangers we face may be coming from outside Earth. Returning to the present, we stand before a final moment. The 2019 United Nations report announced a frightening truth. Earth's biodiversity is being destroyed at a terrible speed. Our planet is facing the risk of the sixth mass extinction event. 15,000 scientists worldwide have warned for the second time that Earth has reached its final threshold against the devastation caused by humanity itself. The consequences we have inflicted seem irreversible. Humanity seems to have reached the ultimate level of civilization, and perhaps only a miracle can save the Earth. Where will that miracle come from? Many famous texts and ancient prophecies, from the Mayans to the Western Book of Revelation, from the Meihua Shunshu to the Tuibei Tu of China, all simultaneously refer to one astonishing and final prophecy. In her 2011 book, The Three Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth, Dolores Cannon revealed a shocking piece of information. Through information gathered from tens of thousands of deep hypnosis cases, she discovered that, since the atomic bomb explosion in 1945, 3 distinct groups of souls from all over the universe have volunteered to come to Earth in human form. Their purpose? To change Earth's frequency, helping to prevent a global catastrophe. These volunteers are here to save Earth because the native souls of Earth are trapped in the cycle of karmic retribution and cannot do it themselves. She affirmed, "This is the first time in cosmic history that this Earth will change its vibration and shift to another dimension. This is the greatest program that Earth is undergoing. All prophecies converge at one point. When human history reaches its last page, when facing existential severity, all of humanity, Earth, and the universe will undergo enormous, unprecedented transformations. This will be the choice between life and death that every person must face." The Book of Revelation mentions the image of the evil red dragon and the final battle between good and evil. Humanity will undergo 7 plagues, and those who follow the evil side will face punishment. After the calamities occur, the King of Kings will conduct the Great Judgment and renew everything in the universe. Humanity will step into a completely new universe. Similarly, Buddhist scriptures teach that in the final Dharma age, the Maitreya Buddha, i.e., the Holy King of the revolving wheel, will descend to earth to transmit the Dharma and save people. After surviving the Great Tribulation, the human world will welcome a new humanity, a new heaven and earth, immensely beautiful. Even if this information may cause disagreement or doubt, it partially answers a constant truth for us. Humans are fundamentally beings born in the universe, in higher realms. Whatever the reason, to correct past mistakes, to learn, or to help others, we have appeared on this earth. Deep down, each of us yearns to return to our origin, to return to where we were originally born, in that other universe. But in this chaotic and spinning reality called objectivity, the sparkling primal nature of humanity is easily obscured. We easily get lost. This is the ultimate choice that every living being needs to face, to choose the right path to return or to be destroyed by the downward current. What do you think of these hypotheses? Do you feel some deep connection to those distant worlds out there? Let the answer guide your mind, and let it lead you into a deep, peaceful sleep.